Hello, this is Orina, and I welcome you, Noemi, and also all of you who are listening to us to the podcast Osobiste, rozmowy holistyczne, which literally means personal holistic talks and interviews. And this is a podcast about health, but in this broadened holistic understanding. So I am very, very, very privileged to welcome amazing specialists and guests, often doctors or therapists and practitioners who share their knowledge on health building and also their understanding of healing. This is actually a second time we are having the podcast in English, so I'm really sorry if any mistakes come on the way.
Don't be worried because it's the first time for me. So
yeah, great.
Okay. You are an expert
compared to me. Okay, I think it releases a lot of tension if once said. Noemi, I am so honored that you are here, and just let me introduce you. And
Yes.
First of all, welcome to Poland.
Yeah, thank you very much for the invitation. It's an honor to be here.
You just released your book, Noemi Orvosztot. This is how some people interested may find you under your name. You just released a book that I will maybe read in Polish first and
Yes.
then in English. I don't know if it's already in English, the title?
Not yet,
Okay.
not yet, but it will be published in England next year.
Okay.
Next year in
Okay.
spring, yes.
Los, który dziedziczysz, jak się uwolnić od rodzinnych traum. How would you translate it to English?
In Hungarian it goes inherited fate, and I think it will be the same title in English, in the English edition as well.
You are a psychologist, clinical psychologist.
Yes.
But you are also deep researcher, actually, of stories.
Yeah.
Personal stories, because the book bases on your experience, clinical psychological experience, mainly going and digging into transgenerational traumas and also our family conditionings, I guess.
Yeah, conditioning and the stories our families live in or lived in. Because I think it's very important. We've been concentrating on the individuals, on the isolated person for quite a long. And now I think it's high time to turn our attention to the families, to the stories, histories of the families. Because we have families and we shouldn't
also,
forget about them.
Does it mean making connections also?
Yeah. I think it's very important to rebuild, reestablish connections to our ancestors.
And why?
Yeah, because we are very deeply interconnected human beings, and we shouldn't forget about it. Yeah, and connection is what heals. Of course, connection can harm us, but connection is what can heal us, and we shouldn't forget about it.
Do you think we are living in the world that is very disconnected?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Maybe it's because of the new devices we have in our hands, which disconnects us. We have the feeling that we are better connected. We can connect to people living at the other end of the world, living in Australia, New Zealand, wherever. But still, I mean, connection means being together, feeling the other person, smelling the other person, seeing every single tiny movement on the other person's face, and these are very important informations, and this is what makes connection worth it, and this is what makes us feel much better. I mean, if I just see someone on the screen, it's so far away. It's somehow the other person somehow remains a stranger to me.
But you said also about connections within our families.
Yeah.
So maybe the opening question for me would be how to make a connection with a past or with a member of a family who's maybe not there anymore for us and is digging into the past and is making connection to the family. How do you say? Necessary. Is digging to the past necessary in order for us to heal?
Yeah, I do think that understanding where we come from is the key of understanding our present, understanding our life, and changing our future. It's very important to see the whole picture, and our family and the past of our family, the history of our family belongs to the whole picture. You can't apart yourself from the past of your family.
Can't we?
I don't think so. No, I mean, how can you? You can't. It's there. May I just start with my personal story?
Absolutely.
How I got to the idea of transgenerational trauma and transgenerational inheritance. It all began with the birth of my daughter. She's now 21, so it's been quite a long time ago. And I remember vividly taking this little newborn baby back home from the hospital. And of course, as every new mother or father or parent, of course, I expected it to be the happiest day of my life. And I remember putting this tiny little creature into her cot, and instead of happiness, I felt an intense pain and fear, a fear that this baby could be lost. And I just couldn't understand. And partly I had the feeling that this feeling didn't just belong to me. It was if I had felt the pain of every grieving mother before me. And from that day on, I couldn't think of anything else than just this crazy thought that I might lose this baby. This baby can be lost. And I started to search for explanations, and this is how it began. I studied family therapy. I digged into attachment theory, into attachment traumas, and then suddenly it just, I got the idea. Okay, I got to this theory of transgenerational traumas, and I knew that I found the answer, that my fear was because of the experiences of my ancestors. Because both of my grandmothers lost several babies before they had my parents. Both of my parents, my father and my mother, are only children. And it's not because they didn't have any brothers or sisters, but because they had lost their siblings. Yeah.
I have two questions now, because at one point it's an obvious question of intuition and going with your intuition and digging into stories. That goes along with evidence-based medicine, or evidence-based. So, how does it relate? So that's one question, and second question was maybe relates more personally to you. So, when you felt it was something bigger, did you ask questions? How did you approach that fear that you described as bigger than you?
Of course, I started to search for explanations, and I went to therapy, and I asked my colleagues, and because at this time I was at the university studying psychology. This was when I started university, and no one could give me any answer. They said, okay, it's postpartum depression or whatever. But I knew that it wasn't the case. Somehow I felt it. And yes, you said the word intuition. And we should trust our intuition because, the intuition is something very important. It can lead us to the right direction. And this is what happened in my case too, that my intuition just said, no, it's not the right answer. Go, keep on going, keep on searching, keep on trying to find the right answer. And it was very interesting that no one ever mentioned transgenerational trauma while I was at the university. So, yeah. It's not because it wasn't well known in our profession, but people just couldn't connect the dots. In my case,
maybe it relates also to this, as we started our conversation, to this very individualistic culture.
Yeah.
That all is our responsibility.
Yeah, it's all about you.
Yes, and
you are responsible for your own life.
But also, it's all my fault.
Yeah, for sure.
So there's like two sides of this one coin.
We put a very big burden on people's shoulder if we think that they are isolated for their surrounding, from their families.
How is it understood now in terms of evidence, in terms of science?
Now we know that certain experiences or environments can trigger kind of chemical markers to be attached to the DNA, and they will decide which gene to be turned on or turned off. So it's now evidence-based that our experiences form or influence which of our genes will be turned on or turned off. So that we kind of are influenced, or our life is influenced by the experiences of our ancestors. That was, for example, I also mentioned in my book this very, very interesting experiment with mice. Mice were trained to be so there was the scent of cherry blossom sprayed into the cage of little mice, and at the same time they got an electric shock. So they soon learned that the scent meant something very bad. It meant pain. Okay, but then it turned out that the offspring, the grandchildren, great grandpas of mice, also reacted more sensitive to the cherry blossom scent, although they were never trained with this electric shock. So they knew somehow that, okay, this scent means fear, it means pain, so you better avoid this scent. So this is one way of passing traumas to the next generation, the epigenetic route. But when we are born into a family, we also are born into a belief system, okay? Because our parents think something about the world. They have a very vivid imagination about the world, about security, about the worth of relationships, whether it's possible to be secure, to feel secure with someone, to whether to become very intimate with someone or not. And this knowledge is there in their body, in their mind, and they
not necessarily verbal,
not necessarily verbal, and they just transfer this knowledge to us.
So, to dig a little bit more deep into the belief systems, but also I'm coming back to the question that I had in my mind: how to make a connection with someone or stories or something that shaped us, the belief systems that are just passed on and passed on and passed on. How can we reveal them if there's no one that we can talk to? If there is no story that we can actually really relate to as a historical facts. Do you see what I mean? That if you feel that, okay, something is there for me to explore, or there is something in the family that is passed on as a say a belief system saying, okay, be always aware of, I don't know.
You normally start this journey of self-awareness when you have some problem, whether you can't find your purpose in life, whether you are not able to form secure relationship, whether you keep choosing the same kind of partner and you suffer from constantly losing your partner because they cheat you, they leave you, or whatever. So this is how you start thinking about yourself as a member of a bigger net, okay, of a bigger family net. So this is how it starts normally. You have a problem and you try to solve it.
Yeah.
And you are looking for solutions and explanations.
Yes.
And then you start digging deeper, searching for explanations. And you might discover that, okay, the pattern, what you keep repeating in your life is very similar than what your mother did in her life.
But how does it heal? How does understanding that I do the same thing?
Very important question. Yeah, everybody just wants to know. Okay, and what next? How do I heal myself? Healing it's like a puzzle. You know, it has very different parts. First of all, you have to understand the reasons. Okay, I do believe that we are rational creatures, and we want to know the whys. We want to understand the reasons. But, of course, knowing the reason doesn't heal us. So it's a much more complex work or journey. But understanding is one point. Then we have to find different kind of therapeutical methods. And maybe cognitive behavioral therapy will be the one for us. Yeah. But we might also include some somatic-based therapies, like understanding the body. Because if you suffer from transgenerational trauma, for sure you have bodily issues. Like, for example, you are not able to connect yourself to your body. You don't understand what is this pain, or maybe you don't even become aware that there is something going on in your body because you disconnected at a very, very early age from your body because you're...
Sorry to interrupt, but can I actually ask you, how do you define trauma now? And for you also, how do you define trauma? Because there's I think now a huge turn in understanding what trauma is, and also what is the how to
distinguish between the different kind of traumas. Yes, for quite a long time we saw that trauma was something unusual, which is out of the everyday experience. But now we know that no. Trauma can be, for some people and for lots of people, an everyday experience. Trauma can be a very big thing, a very serious event when you are not with which you are not able to cope on your usual coping methods. But a trauma can be, for example, living in a family which is not sensitive enough to your needs, which is where people are not able to satisfy your basic needs, when people are not able to connect emotionally to you. Maybe you get everything. You get food, you are taken care of physically, but not emotionally. It can also be trauma. It can also traumatize you. So it's and trauma can be an individual experience, but also a collective experience. For example, COVID was a collective trauma because everybody was involved in it. And we all had this experience, but the collective trauma has its individual aspect as well. And whether we are able to cope with trauma or not depends on many factors. It depends on our personality, on our temperament, and it also depends on the environment we live in, whether there are people who are able to connect with us, who are able to listen to us, to take care of us when we suffer. You know, I think it's the most important thing is that there has to be someone who realizes that we are suffering.
A witness.
A witness, but a witness who is an active witness, because only witnessing something, you know, you can stay away from the emotional experience of the other. You can witness someone suffering without doing anything, okay? But we have to feel that the other person is there for us, takes care for us.
But I think what we're talking about, like many things actually now, on one hand, collective trauma, when you said, I thought about, you know, Poland and Hungary.
Oh, yes.
And some very common history that we share of Holocaust, of...
the 20th century was just full of traumas.
What is also, for me, very interesting, and I would like to ask you about traumas that happen to us when we're very small, when we have no way and capacity to relate and ask for help or ask for the connection and look for something that is truly supportive for us. But we are just there naked as children. So first of all, how much these traumas shape us? How much do you think we can heal from them as grown-ups? Maybe these two for now.
Yeah, you said that when we are tiny babies, we can't ask for help. We can. The question is whether there is an answer.
True.
Because, you know...
we do ask, actually.
We do ask.
But,
babies cry. This is what parents say. But no, it's not true. Babies ask for help. A crying baby, it's not a crying baby, it's a tiny little creature asking for help. And the question is there anyone who can listen and understand that it's not an annoying noise, but it's a cry for help. And if there is an answer, if we can answer to our children, and we can be sensitive enough and give them the answers they need, then we will be able to heal the next generation. And by healing the next generation, we actually can get in touch with our power, with this healing source of ours, and it can heal us too.
Do you think we can heal the past?
Oh, heal the past. I mean, past is over. We can't change it, but we can heal us now. We can heal the next generation. We can heal each other by looking at each other, by listening to each other, by taking each other seriously. Because this is, I think, one of the most important things, that there is someone who takes you seriously, who validates your feelings, who is there for you, who looks into your eyes and not just runs away and think, okay, let's run to the next thing.
The problem is when we don't validate ourselves first.
Yeah, because we don't validate ourselves because no one taught us how to validate ourselves. Because it all begins in our childhood. We need a parent or a grown-up or a caretaker to validate our feelings. But what happens when, for example, let's just take a very simple and everyday experience of a child. A child runs and falls and hurts
knee,
its leg or knee. And what do? We go there, we pick the child up, and we say, "Oh, it's nothing. Don't bother with it. It doesn't hurt. Look, there is a little bird. Pay attention to the little bird." And instead of this, and we think it's the right thing to do, because this is how we cope with pain. But instead of doing this, we should go there, lower ourselves to the level of the child, hug the child, and tell the child, "Oh, I can see that you hurt your leg, and this is why you are crying. It must be painful." So we actually validate the feeling. We name the feeling. We give a name to the feeling. And then we are there. Then we pick up the child, and we just there holding the child, rocking the child. And then when we feel that its muscle can soften, then this is the time when we say, "And look, there is a little bird," because this is hope, you know. We are suffering together. This way we teach the children or our child that, there is suffering in the world. There are bad experiences in the world. And it takes time to go through the pain. But then we do it together, but then there is hope.
Very beautiful. Do you think we can do it to ourselves also?
Oh, of course. We can become the best parents of ourselves. Yeah,
so
and we should do it.
We cannot escape from the small child within us.
No, we can't. But we can be a very good parent to our injured little child.
I think that the biggest challenge actually is to really hear, and as you said at the beginning, to if we learned at some point of growing up that we're not relevant enough, that we didn't get the validation for the feelings, it's a really difficult and very strong work to be done. Then afterwards in the grown-up world to feel worthy.
Yeah, but this is why we have to understand that our parents lacked the knowledge how to validate our feelings, how to pay attention, real attention to us. So this is why we have to understand the concept of transgenerational trauma, because our parents didn't want bad to us. I mean, they didn't want harm us. I don't think it was their intention, but you know, they grew up the way they grew up, very likely with parents who were not sensitive enough, who just tried to survive and didn't have the emotional capacity to pay attention to their children's feelings, because physical survivance was more important than dealing with feelings. And I mean, if you live in wartime, what can you do with feelings? You suppress. This is the easiest way. You just suppress, because you have to live through day by day.
It's interesting, actually. It feels like we are living the times that allow us now to look into our feelings and actually start the healing process. But the healing process means to take it all out and look at it in a very painful way sometimes. But do you think also a part of healing is forgiveness? Or is understanding a forgiveness?
I think forgiveness is very difficult, because if you grew up in a very abusive family setting, it's very difficult to ask you to forgive. But maybe if you understand why it had happened, then you look at your parents in through a different lens. Maybe you can forgive, or you just change the whole concept about them, and
maybe it's easier than to let go of some parts that before were so rigid. So
you don't
strong.
let go the memories. You don't let go the lost time, but you let go the emotional burden. So because we keep repeating to ourselves and to our friends, okay, let it go, let it go, let it go, but no one knows how to do it. Okay, how do I do it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, by working. As I said, therapy is a puzzle. So there is the rational part of the therapy, and then there is this somatic psychotherapy, like breathing therapy, like I don't know, yoga, trauma-informed yoga, or meditation, relaxation, whatever, dance therapy, art therapy. You know, you have to find
it builds a very
what works for you. It's a holistic approach.
Approach that actually everyone is on their individual path, and it's our work to discover what works for now, for us,
and what works for me might not work for you, and what is not working for you at the moment might work
in
for
some
you.
time.
In 2 years' time, for example.
I would like to ask you, also just coming back to trauma itself, how would you say, what are the symptoms that we know, that we might know that this is something that relates to trauma, to PTSD, not necessarily from a situation that happened in our life, but maybe it's a transgenerational PTSD that we are facing now. So you said a little bit about this disconnection from the body and mind. What else from the symptoms are there?
Various. The symptoms vary from. There is a physical. There might be physical symptoms, like I know, digestion problems, or insomnia. There might be mental issues like depression, PTSD, panic attacks, various kind of symptoms. And you find a connection when you start looking for connection. Okay, the first thing is not to be satisfied with a simple explanation. Okay, but ask questions again and again, and then it might turn out that your symptoms lead to a transgenerational trauma or a story in your family.
Do you think it's then it's about going with a relief? Say, if I feel, as you say, okay, so I dig and I go for this therapy, then I go for another therapy, or I try this method, and it doesn't satisfy me on some level. That I feel that it's not enough. And
when you feel that it's not enough, and the symptoms are coming back, it's still coming back or changing, then you can be sure that there is something more serious in the background.
Or maybe this is not the method.
Or maybe it is not the method. Or if you have very intense reactions in situations which others consider to be a kind of a normal situation, and you react very intensely, then you might start thinking, okay, why this intense reaction of myself? What is the reason for this? And then you might find some transgenerational trauma in the background. For example, there, may I just bring here a story of one of my patients. There was this young lady who got engaged with a boyfriend, and on one weekend they decided to drive down to the little village where the boyfriend's or the fiance's mother lived. She came up to the capital, to Budapest, visiting them, and then they decided to bring her back in their car. But they had so many packages and luggages, and they decided to transport some of the furnitures down. So there was not enough space in the car for her. And because the mother was quite old, they decided, okay, the fiancé, the guy, drives down to the village with the mother in the car, and she will follow them by train. I mean, it's a quite normal story, and the rational person would say, of course,
okay,
it's okay, not a problem. But then she was sitting in the train, and she got panic attacks, one after the other, and she felt isolated, and she felt that, okay, the world is over, this guy doesn't love her anymore, and now she's excluded from the family circle. And she came to me not understanding the whole situation, and we started digging into the family stories, and then it turned out that her great-grandmother married, they had a German origin in the family, and this lady, her great-grandmother, married a gypsy man of their village, and she was excluded from the family. And this story wasn't told properly, but there were hints in the family. Okay, if you don't do what is told to you, if you don't follow the rules of the family, you will be excluded from the family. So, and it's also a kind of a belief system that is possible, because if it happened once, it can happen anytime again, and you kind of pass down the knowledge from generation to generation, that you have to follow the rules. If you don't follow, if you do anything which is not accepted by the family, then you lose us. And in this certain moment, when she felt that she's excluded, she's isolated from the rest of the family, she had these panic attacks.
But would you say then that these panic attacks belonged to her, or these panic attacks actually were someone else's panic attacks passed on?
For sure, her great-grandmother used to have panic attacks. I'm quite sure, because being excluded from your family. I mean, it's a threatening experience.
But because it's so interesting of how to hear our own voice, and what is our own voice, because it blends somehow with the stories of our families, with the stories of our ancestors. And it's like the whole crowd behind us.
Yeah, there is. Look, it's a whole crowd.
It's a whole
just on the
exactly
cover of the book. Yeah,
it's very interesting.
And everybody is carrying a baggage.
That, because it's a crowd behind us, and then we carry a luggage that is just belongs to our own life that we shape at the moment, and also stories, beautiful stories, but difficult stories also that shape us. But so how would you see? It's very interesting. How would you see, how would you define then our own voice? Do we have our own voice, or this is always blended?
It's always blended, I think. I mean, who are you?
Yeah, exactly.
Who are you?
That's like.
Do you exist on your own without your parents, your dad and your mother? No, you.
There's actually
your eyes. Maybe you inherited from your dad. Your mouth from your mother. I mean, it's in you. They are in you.
But also in the book, you mentioned the story of children that were found in the beginning of 20th century, that were abandoned as very, very small. Yeah. And I think 2 girls were raised by wolves. Yeah. And couldn't learn to speak.
Yeah, because there is a window for learning certain things, and if you don't get the experience, the triggers in this time period, then the window closes, and then whatever happens afterwards, you won't be able to. For example, you won't be able to after the first 6 years, if you don't hear language, spoken language in your in the first 6 years of your life, then whatever happens afterwards, you won't be able to
learn it,
to speak it.
Yeah. But this
and
is
it's
the
the
best
same
proof.
with love. It's the same with security and love, because we are born with the ability to learn how to love, but we don't know it. We have to experience love. We have to experience that we can trust other people. And if this experience is missing, then it's very, very hard to
but
trust
is it possible?
anyone. Partly, but it will never be the same as we learned it.
Do you think it's because we are so naked when we're children, that we just take everything without these fences?
Yeah, we take everything, and our body just absorbs all the experience. Yeah, and as Bessel van der Kolk, the famous trauma therapist, says, the body keeps the score, and all the memory just gets stuck in our body.
But it's amazing to ask oneself a question like, how do I feel my voice and who am I?
Yeah.
The biggest question of all.
Yeah.
But really, and when we talk about everything that shapes us, stories that shape us, our ancestors, our difficult histories, traumas that happened to our ancestors and us, it's impossible actually to be, because we wouldn't be as we are, our voice wouldn't be without them.
For sure.
So this is like the best proof of this interconnection. And yet I think it's so, ironically, it's so hard to believe it, because we are living this very individualistic culture that says me and only me.
Yeah.
Can I ask you also about, it comes back, this question all the time, about having this experience of feeling that something is bigger than me, like an anxiety or panic attack, or something that is irrelevant to the situation, as you described.
And you can't
from your
find
patient.
the explanation.
Yeah, I don't understand,
Yeah.
but I'm completely out of my shoes.
Yeah, this is what we call micro trauma. Micro trauma, that just maybe a tiny movement or a reaction or half of a reaction. Okay, and we children are very deeply connected to our parents, and we have these little, I don't know,
I know, sensors
which dig deep into the subconscious of our parents, and we get all the information which are hidden from us, and then we just form our belief system through this process.
Yes.
So you can't hide the truth from your children. It's very important, and every parent should know there is no secrecy. There are no secrets. There are untold stories, and there is a big difference.
So, having I guess everyone can relate, because all the families have their own bigger
secrets.
Bigger and smaller secrets.
Yeah, true.
But sometimes we can't get there. We don't know anymore because the family is gone, or maybe there is no will. If we want to know the story, we approach our family members and we ask, but there is no response. What can we do?
Yeah. First of all, we have to know how to ask. Because in most cases we ask like this, okay, tell me. Would you? No. We have to first, before asking the questions, we have to build or rebuild connection. It's very important. We have to find the connection to the person we want answers from. Because the other person has to feel safe in this relationship. Okay, and if we try to approach someone who lost their trust it's quite a long time to rebuild trust, and only afterwards can we ask questions. And maybe it's so first building trust. This is the first step, and then maybe it's more important to talk about ourselves than to ask questions. To reveal what is going on inside of us, and then we might be able to ask questions. Do you know?
Yes, I do. I follow absolutely. I wanted to ask something very practical, like, how to shape a question, or is there a way that the question could be asked that is respectful?
How to ask a question? Be present. It's the first thing you have to learn, being present. And then you connect on a deep level to the other person, and then you will know how to ask the question. I used to work in a, how you call it in English, gerontology, where very old people...
Yes.
Yeah. And some of them couldn't even remember their names or whatever. But I went there on a daily basis. I sat there next to their bed, and I started to talk. First, I started to talk about the weather, about the food, about whatever. And then, it was a very unique experience for them, because they kept, they were just kind of stored in this hospital unit, and they were not used to someone talking to them. But then, when they felt that someone is paying attention to them, they kind of brightened up and opened up. And we started to talk. And then the right question always came to my mind, because I followed my instinct, and I followed the development of our relationship. So don't be bothered about the question.
Form.
Yeah. Just be there and develop a relationship, a real human relationship to the person you want a connection with.
I think what moves me very much of what you say is that there is a big difference of approaching someone in terms of I want something from someone, and on the other hand, just having a deep experience of partnership in a conversation,
connection,
and I guess respect to someone's decision, because sometimes stories are very painful, and sometimes someone may not want to share it, and it's also on our part to accept it.
If they refuse to talk about the past, we have to accept it. We mustn't push the other person, our grandparents, for example. Tell me what had happened. No.
Yeah.
It's not the way.
It's not the connection that you're talking about.
No, it's not. But we also have to know that I think most people want to tell their stories. Much more people want to tell their stories than who are asked.
Yeah, a matter of approaching.
Yeah.
How do you think? Because I just, for me, I decided to dig, like not in a historical way, but just to dig into the feelings,
emotional,
and emotions. But some people, and I know by talking to many people, and there is always ongoing discussion, like, no, I don't feel I want to jump into the past. I want to be focused on my future. It's a very classical, I'd say,
this is how I start my book. Yeah.
But I think it's so, in some ways, I don't know, nature of it is almost philosophical, how much we, with one leg, we are in the past, going into the future, balancing between the two, and finding ourselves in presence at the same time. Sometimes, making these decisions is very
it's already an existential question. Yeah. But I don't think we have a future without knowing our past. For sure not. I mean, how? How can you make the right decisions? How can you know which way to go if you don't understand yourself? And you won't understand yourself without knowing your past.
Mm-hmm. I'm thinking about arguments on the other side.
Okay. I'm open to it.
Yeah. For example, I don't have time. I'm very focused on building my future.
Okay. It means that you are very much disconnected from your feelings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I choose my feelings according to the situation, and I act. I managed to go through my life without.
Feelings are not rationally chosen.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you. But on the other hand, from the talks that I had. From just an observation, also my own mechanisms of sometimes pushing away something, a decision not to look in the direction or not to meet certain events in my life from the past. That at the end, when I met them, it was such a huge relief. But wasting so much of energy of
pushing toward. Yeah,
it's really exhausting.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to avoid fear or negative feelings, I mean,
but why are we so afraid of looking into the past or difficult, traumatic events?
Some of my patients say that they don't want to deal with the past because they are very much afraid that a horrific story would come to light. And
what could happen then?
Well, yeah, what could happen then? And I always tell them, don't worry, because your subconscious mind, it protects you. So if you are not strong enough to face the truth, to cope with the truth, then the truth will be hidden, remains hidden. So this is why we keep, we start the therapy with building inner strengths first. And only then, when you are strong enough, go we deeper and deeper and deeper into the past. So therapy doesn't look like, or working with the past doesn't look like, okay, these are the raw facts.
Yes.
Deal with it. Yes. Go home and take it.
Yeah. Let's name it.
No. It's not like this. Therapy, for example, starts with building trust between the therapist and the patient. It's very important, because many people who come to therapy, who seek therapy, never ever experienced trust
in a
relationship. So first we have to teach them or show them that it's possible. And only if there is enough trust can we continue with.
Yeah, I believe so. Then the story is being or the difficult story, the difficult feelings and experiences, they are somehow not helped. I have another word in my mind. Cared.
Yeah.
By someone else, not only us.
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
But can I ask you, because you said trust, building trust between a patient and a therapist, but also a trust to oneself, I guess, that it has to be a base. If I let myself go somewhere to the past, to traumatic past or event, it's a huge journey. Inner journey, and very difficult sometimes, with many difficult emotions and meeting difficult memories sometimes. But I guess it's only possible, as I understand what you said, it's only possible when we have also a trust that we have a place to come back to within ourselves also. Because otherwise...
For sure.
We're done.
For sure.
So where would you begin?
This is why we have to follow the certain steps. Because if you are too fast, if you go too quickly into very, heavy memories or whatever, traumas, then you might collapse or fall apart.
Yeah.
So this is why I said that first we have to build trust and inner strength, and it can only happen in a connection. So you don't dig deep into yourself on your own. You need someone who is there with you, who follows you, who with one leg stays in the reality, with the other leg follows you into the irreality, the past, the traumatic events, into deep and moving emotions, but then can help you and guide your way out of the trauma. So it's like it's a kind of a movement between the present and the past, but you need someone who is there, who guides you. It's kind of a, I wouldn't say it's a Sherpa, but kind of a Sherpa who is there with you, who knows the way, who knows how to get to this certain mountain, to this certain peak.
I have like 3 questions. But to follow the trust and building trust, what would you say is the beginning? Like, what would be your advice on how to start?
How to build trust?
Yeah.
Be there. Be sensitive.
To oneself as well?
Yeah. Be someone you can rely on. I mean, for example, I had once a client who lost several of her family members. And, losing your loved ones means that you lose trust in life, trust in love, trust in connection, because, connection becomes something very dangerous, something very painful. If I start, if I love you, then I might lose you, then I will experience pain, and I don't want it. So I don't want to trust you. I don't want to build a strong connection to you. And she came to see me after all these very heavy experiences. And I remember her taking her notes and writing down everything I said, and being very curious about the method, about the structures of the therapy, about the steps we will follow, and all this kind of stuff. And I knew what was behind this untrust. And I just let her take her notes and do whatever she wanted to do. And at the very beginning, when we started, she sat like this, never laid back or nothing, very rigid. She was really rigid. And then after time, week after week, she felt that when she arrived, I smiled at her. I asked questions. I never judged her. I was there. Week after week, I was there. I wasn't gone. I didn't die. I was there for her. And then after, I think it was eight months, on one day, she just released the tension of her body, of her muscles. And this was the moment when I felt, okay, now
is the time.
There is trust. Trust was born between us. And then, yes, of course, we had to go through this whole experience also cognitively. Like she had to understand that, yes, when you love someone, you might lose the person, but it's still worth loving someone.
I would like to ask you at the end, very maybe practical, practical question that, because I believe that we talk a lot about intuition, about following like a thread.
Yeah.
So what are your favorite methods that could help us?
The first one would be for sure breathing therapy. Like, don't do anything, just, sit down, close your eyes, try to imagine your body, build a connection to your body. Okay, I know where I am, I feel my body. Then turn your attention to your breath. Don't do anything, don't control your breath, just keep kind of watching your breath, focusing your attention onto your breath, and just do nothing for 2 minutes. Just watch your breathing. And if your mind wanders away, just bring your attention back to your breath again and again. And do it 2 times a day for a month, and you will feel that something, tiny little things, start changing, and something softens, as you say,
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Noemi.
Thank you very much for your invitation and this lovely conversation.
Yeah,
I enjoyed.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.